Did the bureaucrat recommending the third Monday of February for Family Day foresee that the long weekend would often encompass Valentine's Day? I do hope so, because St. Valentine's story is most appropriate for the Family Day weekend. The story of St. Valentine is of a priest who served in 3rd century Rome. Their emperor Claudius II decreed that marriage was outlawed for young men. His theory was that men were braver and more worthy soldiers if they were unattached and had neither wife nor children to draw them home. Opposing this, Valentine took his marriages underground in defiance of Claudius's need for dedicated men-at-arms. But when we look to his martyrdom, confusion arises. Some theorize that there may be as many as 3 priests named Valentine who were all martyred during this period in Rome. But whether it was for marrying young lovers in secret, helping Christians escape from Roman prisons, refusing to worship Roman gods, or for other defiance of Roman persecution of the early church, the specific capital crime is not recorded, and archaeology does not reveal. But the date of his execution is recorded as the 14th of February, around 270 AD. One of the legends around him is very romantic. The claim is that Valentine, during his imprisonment, sent the first Valentine greeting. Having fallen in love with a young girl, allegedly his jailer's daughter, he cured her of blindness, and before his death he wrote to her and signed his letter, "From your Valentine," a tradition carried on by lovers to this day. Valor, bravery, and caring for the persecuted are all romantic images, and the legend of Valentine claims them all. In 496, over 200 years after his death, Pope Gelasius I established his feast day, and in setting his commemorative date as the 14th of February, conveniently provided an alternative to the fertility festival of Lupercalia that fell on the 15th, thereby extolling love and marriage rather than mere carnal lust. For clearly, a holiday inspired by kindness and love, a man martyred for the crime of arranging marriages, is rightly remembered on a day dedicated to the delights of love. Now, when it comes to weddings, I am an authority and observer on a variety of levels. Having started out as the first female wedding photographer in Toronto, and having been a lawyer restricting my practice to the areas of family law and child protection, and now as a minister marrying the happy couples, thereby creating a new family, I am ever hopeful that I will be baptizing the next generation. Customs and patterns, legal and social, change over the years and the centuries, but people don't change all that much, and the God-given instinct to desire and love and commit oneself to another, to create a family and to have children and so carry on the life stories of the generations, is innate. And I am a big fan of marriage, not just for parent-approved sex, although that is another delight that God gave us, but for the most solid base we have yet found for a lifelong relationship and the rearing of children. Marriage moves the relationship from the private and personal to the public and community. It's no longer 2 choosing to spend time together, but 2 committing to a future together and inviting all to bear witness to their promises and seek their support. And broad those promises are. As a minister, one of my duties when asked to marry a couple is to meet with them and learn their expectations of marriage and introduce them to the teachings of their church on the subject. Undoubtedly, my legal experience has added a number of topics that others might not so readily be included. Because the reality is that marriages are more likely to end because of financial pressures rather than infidelity. And so I insist that couples fill in the same type of forms about their assets and liabilities and expenditures that divorcing couples used to complete in my law office. And it's amazing how little most people know about their partner's finances, good or bad. It's funny what secrets we cling to. Then we explore expectations. Where do they intend to live? Apartment? House? With in-laws? Will both of them work? How many children, if any, would they like to have? More education? Cottage or travel? Will you be helping to support others? Children of another relationship? Parents when they age? A disabled sibling? Simple questions that it would seem both would ask, discuss, and agree upon. But that tain't necessarily so. And it's in knowing yourself and your partner that you've found a lifelong relationship. And far better to get to know before you start planning the wedding. Then we look at the promises you make in marriage, to have and to hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part. And the minister asks if you will love, comfort, honor, and protect, and forsaking all others, to be faithful, as long as you both shall live. And you answer, I will. For me, the most important part of these promises is that you will cherish and honor that person. It's much like the Lord's commandment that you do unto others as you would want them to do to you. You cannot curse or harm or discredit or deprive or dishonor or cheat the one you honor and cherish. It's the yardstick against which you measure your decisions and which tells you when an apology is in order. Well, having done a lot of genealogy, I know that mine was not the first generation to invent premarital sex. I know that many, if not most, couples lived together before they walked down the aisle. Although I do remember the indignation of a daughter when our minister kept insisting she could tell him that she was living with her fiancé, and she wasn't. But one of the consequences of living together or having sex too soon is that it does impair the ability of people to be really honest about what's important to them and what they cannot tolerate. Once into the relationship, with the shared lease and the shared expenses, it's harder to walk away from the ever-entwining bonds. When it works, nothing beats a good marriage for providing a safe harbor for a family. The partner whose eyes light up when you walk through the door. The co-conspirator on Christmas Eve once the wee ones are asleep. The person who can say a volume with a look and who knows when to say or not to say just about anything. And we all want that person. And the best way to achieve that is by discovering what you want and what you need. When I practiced law, I became a great consumer of Harlequin romances. Having spent the day dealing with broken people and broken dreams and broken marriages, I would just crawl into a nice hot bath with another volume, and by the time the romance and happy ever after conclusion, my spirits were healed and the world was in balance once again. And so I started to look for what works. And it's not a singular thing. For instance, a great sense of humor, intelligence, and a willingness to support me and my causes were what I realized I most valued. But I bet most who hear those words will reflect, but what about? And then fill in some of the strengths that would be on their list. And that is what we only learn from exploration. And then we need to find out whether our personalities and needs will accommodate the differences. My husband and I had very different body clocks. I would wake, ready to rise at 4 a.m. He finished work at 11 p.m. and headed for bed at 4. But 4 a.m. turned into a magical time and worked for us. Neither of us could have accommodated living the times of the other. But for some, that would be a deal breaker. A deal breaker for me would have been a man who not only did not share my faith, but did not want our children to do so. And it would be unfair to expect a feminist to make a happy home for a misogynist. Some things are just obvious, at least to the neutral observer. So when romance is in the air, enjoy it. But before you go too much farther into a relationship, get to know the other. And all the times that I am meeting with the couple, I am attempting to determine if the couple really likes each other. because that is the best determinant of whether this will be a successful and long-lasting marriage. Tolerating essential aspects of the other does not work long time. And the expectation that the other will change to what you want is folly. Loving the person is magic, but liking them for who they are, well, that is essential. When you are sure that you can keep the promises that you make, then you are ready for the big day. Because once you work through the essentials, you are well on your way to a great life. A life that hopefully you will share with the next generation. For children, frustrating though they may be at times, heartbreaking at others, are another great gift that God often gives. And those children deserve a happy, nurturing home with two parents who care for each other. And so do you. I hope and pray that you have one, or had one, or will find one. So on this lovely long weekend, although how one really celebrates a long weekend when all the days meld into one another, I'm not quite sure. What are your plans? Dark chocolate and roses? Breakfast in bed with champagne? An engagement ring? Preparing lobster for dinner? Or does necessity require declarations of love via Zoom and kisses promised for that someday day? And planning for Family Day is every bit as challenging, although, having been around only 13 years, it's not as enshrined in customs and expectations. A holiday designed to give us a break between New Year's and Easter is a fine goal in itself. And celebrating family, well, that normally lets us get together and tell tales on siblings and beat another generation at trivia and enjoy a family feast over the dinner table. It lets us remember the good and forget the not so. Family Day is focused on getting closer to our loved ones, and family is much deeper and broader than those we claim by blood. Looking through Christmas pictures, I have not found one year in which only those who by birth were included. Instead, friends, the honoraries, have become as closer than aunts and cousins, nephews and in-laws. And this is a good year to think of all those people who feel like family, that community of people who love and support each other. The health authorities assure us that when it comes to overall health and well-being, strong family bonds are just as important as good nutrition, exercise, and proper rest. Research has shown that people who feel a deep sense of connection and have fulfilling connections with others tend to live longer, healthier lives, to say nothing of happier. However you define family, you're right. They are the people who can depend on you to be there when they need you. And the people you know will answer the phone when you need help. And that's what love is all about. The Bible gives us the ultimate definition of love when it describes how God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, that whosoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And isn't that what we want for those we love? An everlasting life of love, security, and delight. Cherish and honor those you love this weekend, and always. God bless and keep you and all those you love. So may it be. Amen. Having explored love and marriage and St. Valentine, it's time to put all that love and caring into practice. And the place to start with is your family and all those whose hearts have found a place therein. And visit a church service online to celebrate our love of God, and may God bless until we're together once again. Hopefully, next Sunday.